Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Wednesday, the 12th of August, 2020. I'm Jason Davis. Nationally, a tropical depression approaching the Leeward Islands is expected to become a tropical storm later today. That's according to a statement from the St. Kitts Met Office issued this morning. According to the statement, there is high uncertainty at this time in determining the magnitude of impacts the depression will have on the region. However, the system still poses a threat with the potential to cause impacts from winds, storm surge, seas, and flooding. The depression is moving towards the west near 15 miles per hour, and this general motion is expected to continue through Wednesday. Maximum sustained winds remain near 35 miles per hour with higher gusts. Some gradual strengthening is forecast during the next 48 hours, and the depression is expected to become a tropical storm by later today. On its forecast track, Tropical Depression 11 could near the islands late Friday into early Saturday as a tropical storm. However, it's still a bit early to say with certainty the eventual path of the system, the wind intensity on arrival, or possible rainfall totals. Tropical Depression 11 could still pass over 120 miles away from the islands and spare us any serious impact. Residents are urged to monitor Tropical Depression 11 and be prepared to implement their hurricane plan should this system become a greater threat to the islands. Minister of Health, the Honorable Akila Byron Nisbet, says she is in the process of conducting a listening tour to understand the needs of the staff at the Joseph N. France General Hospital. The minister was at the time responding to a question at the Prime Minister's press conference concerning improvements of the staff at JNF General Hospital, the need for more staff at the hospital, and overall improvement at the institution. Minister Byron Nisbet said that she has already met with the management within the Ministry of Health and is now taking the listening tour down to the staff level.
I've already had meetings with the management within the Ministry of Health, and now I'm taking this listening tour down to the staff level. And so I'm meeting with the groupings, be it environmental health officers, which were the first grouping, the nurse managers within community, the nursing staff within JNF, as well as the clerical staff, the cleaners, and whoever else is involved within the ministry. The idea is to be able to hear from them, what are your concerns, but not only what are your concerns, but most importantly as well, what are your ideas on how what you do can be improved, how you can improve it, and then let us work together to see this come to fruition.
Minister Byron Nisbet stated that her ministry is also working on the implementation of the health information system, as it is believed that it will not only significantly improve the service offered at the JNF General Hospital, but is intended to expand out into the community as well.
We have a team that have been put together within the ministry. It's a collaboration between the Ministry of Health and the Department of Technology. And this team will be training the staff on the use of the health information system. One of the great advantages of the health information system is that it allows the medical records of every citizen to be all in one place. And so even if you say you have a service done at Joseph N. France Hospital and you need to have follow-ups done within the community, the idea is that in the future, once your record is at Joseph N. France and you move to community, by the use of your medical ID provided to you on booking at the hospital, the community health will be able to determine what you were there for.
With regards to improving the facility, Minister Byron Nisbet spoke to the building of a new hospital.
In terms of the improvements at the hospital itself, I know much have been said about the building of the new hospital, which the Prime Minister have already committed to and for which we are very grateful. And I know that the area has already been identified in West Bastia as well. And so we're looking forward to that. But we do understand that that will take time. And in the meantime, there is still some areas within JNF that need some improvement done. So over the next year, we'll be looking at moving the cabinet and finance to support the continued build-out of some areas within JNF.
Minister Byron Nisbet said over the next budgetary year, more emphasis will be placed on primary health care. In other news, from August 10 to 14 and on August 17, the Ministry of Education will be finalizing the preparations to pilot its enhanced curriculum. This, according to Chief of Education Planning, Dr. Neva Pemberton, who says that over the past 2 years, the Ministry of Education has been working with multiple stakeholders to develop a curriculum that is student-centered, responds to all the interests and needs of its learners, and does a much better job of assessing students' ability and measuring their successes. During the week, the ministry will be training its pilot implementation team, which is made up of education officials, curriculum officers, and curriculum writers. Dr. Pemberton said the pilot implementation team will also be responsible for training principals with the kind of leadership skills that they need to monitor the new enhanced curriculum and train teachers in how to implement the various components of this enhanced curriculum. The ministry will be piloting the curriculum this year at grades 4 and 6. And beginning next week, from August 18, the pilot implementation team will be providing leadership to principals and school leaders in how to support the curriculum enhancement process. She added that from August 24 to September 2, the ministry will also be training its teachers on how to use the enhanced curriculum. Moving now to news on the regional scene, Guyana is under the microscope again, this time in relation to a huge cocaine bust at a German port. Yanis Abrams of HGP-TV News reports.
A major collaborative investigation has been launched locally to see who is responsible for that 1.5 tons of cocaine, which was busted by authorities in the German port city of Hamburg in a consignment of rice that was originated in Guyana. Nightly News understands that the Guyana Revenue Authority has already been asked to produce records of all rice shipments to Europe over the last 6 months. According to Dutch paper, Hamburg authorities discovered 1.5 tons of cocaine in a freight container, one of the largest quantities ever seized in the northern German port city. The massive haul has an estimated street value of around $353 million. The container had arrived in Hamburg's port at the end of June on the 300-meter-long container ship CMA CGM Jean Gabriel. The container was to be loaded onto a feeder ship together with 11 other transport containers and then ultimately carry the cargo to Poland. For this purpose, the container was temporarily stored at the Hamburg terminal. Investigators at the Joint Customs and Police Investigation Group had reportedly received a tip-off about drug smuggling. The container in question was then taken to the city's Waterschaft Customs Office and examined in a testing facility. Officers found 47 large packages hidden between the rice sacks, and within those packages, a total of 1,277 small parcels with cocaine. The parcels all had various symbols on them, including a cat's face. Several hundred of the packages were marked with the same logo. Authorities presume the cocaine was to be distributed from Poland to bulk buyers all over Europe, who would then sell the drugs to street dealers. The latest find is among the largest quantities of cocaine ever seized in Hamburg. A year ago, customs officers seized 4.5 tons of cocaine with a street value of almost £1 billion. The narcotic was transported by a cargo shipped from Uruguay and was destined for Belgium. German law enforcement agents and the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes Container Program have already made contact with Kanu. Reporting for HGP Nightly News, I am Yanis Abrams.
In Trinidad and Tobago, police officers were called in to deal with infractions of the COVID-19 public health guidelines as election celebrations mushroomed at the UNC's campaign office in the Barataria San Juan constituency. Ian Wason of TTT News has more.
Throughout the evening in El Socorro, the UNC supporters were celebrating every announcement that came over the PA system. Their candidate, Attorney Saddam Hussein, was in the lead in the count, with his closest rival, the PNM's Jason Williams. The PEP's candidate, Alberta Perdine, was set a hard target. As the night went along, the excitement grew at the UNC camp, and so did the crowd as they spilled over onto the sidewalk. This caused the police to intervene and halt the proceedings.
And we know the amount of young people here tonight that you will want to celebrate, but it is very, very difficult. So before we give the police a hard time, please let us disperse and go in peace. We will celebrate from our home.
After some pleading, negotiating and complying, face masks were distributed among the supporters and the celebrations were allowed to continue.
Please wear your mask and social distance. Can you all do that now, please? Can you all do that? Let's do that again.
Earlier in the day, UNC political leader Kamala Harris had disagreed with the PNM leader Dr. Keith Rowley's advice to his supporters to stay home and celebrate. Ian Wason, TTT News.
Internationally, after much anticipation, Joe Biden, the presumptive U.S. Democratic presidential nominee, has chosen his running mate for November's election. Kamala Harris is the first person of color to be nominated for the post of vice president. She previously served as California's Attorney General and was the first woman to hold that job. Al Jazeera's Alan Fisher reports from Washington, D.C. in the U.S.
Kamala Harris has been the favorite to fill the Democrats' VP slot for some time.
We are better than that.
She brings a high national profile as a former presidential candidate, a senator from California, and family connections to Biden. She was close friends with his late son, Beau.
Because this is my belief.
The child of a mother from India and father from Jamaica, she ticks two important boxes as a woman of color.
She is such, I think, a dynamic force and really good at messaging, right? She's really good at talking about complicated subjects and making it very clear to the audience and to the American people.
Former Attorney General of California, she's used her skills as a prosecutor in Senate hearings to pick apart arguments put forward by the current administration. But that old title has also brought criticism.
During her tenure as Attorney General, there were a lot of questions raised about her willingness to intervene in a variety of types of cases, including police excessive use of force allegations, as well as areas around drug policy that could really become a problem for her.
In the first Democratic presidential candidate debate, she had a tense exchange when she said Joe Biden's past view on desegregating schools was hurtful. But in modern US politics, that all seems a long time ago. Smart and charismatic, she's been the front runner for a reason. And at 55, more than 20 years younger than the candidate, she's seen as the next generation of Democratic leaders. Alan Fisher.
Nearly 5 million children have been born in Syria since the civil war began 9 years ago. The conflict has had a devastating effect on their lives, with many forced to drop out of school to support their families. Aid agencies warn Syria's deepening economic and currency crisis will push even more children into child labor. Al Jazeera's Priyanka Gupta reports.
Ahmed Mandura should be in school. Instead, he's spending his day at a car repair shop in Idlib province, trying to scrape a living.
I work to look after my family. If I don't work, we won't be able to live.
At home, his mother attempts to offer him a sense of normal childhood. Ahmed's father was arrested by government forces in 2012. The family has no idea where he is. Ahmed is only 13, but his short life has been defined by 9 years of war. He'll carry the scars into an uncertain future.
He used to go to school, then leave to work, and he kept doing so until the day the repair shop was bombed and he got injured. Seeing Ahmed like this breaks my heart because he cannot rest and he will never be able to. He used to go from school to work and can't take a break due to poverty. If he doesn't work, we won't be able to live. His younger brother also works now.
Half of Syria's children today have only known death, devastation and displacement. 41% of those old enough to be in school are not getting an education. For 75% of families in poverty, child labor has become an important source of income. There are fears that the collapse of the Syrian currency and an economic crisis will force even more children like Ahmed into work.
80% of people living in the war-torn country are reportedly living under $2 a day, which is basically nothing. And with the inflation of the currency and with the economic crisis in Syria, with imposing sanctions, it is likely that this number is underestimated, which means for children, more are going to be pushed into child labor.
The war has killed, maimed and traumatized Syria's children. It's also denied them their childhood. And as the conflict drags on, the future for this lost generation now seems even more stark. Priyanka Gupta, Al Jazeera.
And now for the weather. Present weather shows partly cloudy skies with a moderate breeze of 13 miles per hour from the east. Today's temperature is 87 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are moderate with waves of 4 to 7 feet. Small craft operators should exercise caution, mainly overnight in the waters east and north of the islands. Weather for today will be partly sunny with a 20% or slight chance of showers during the afternoon. And for tonight, mostly fair with a 20% or slight chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 6:38 p.m., sunrise tomorrow at 5:52 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.